What's up? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to play the C major scale of chords. So that's the triad that starts on each note of the major scale going up and down the fretboard. This is something that every guitar player needs to know, so let's get right into it. Today we're working out a C major. So the first thing you need to know before you get started with the chords on this is you need to know the formula for the major scale. Alright, and that's start from the first note that you start on. The formula is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So that's whole, half, whole, half. Okay? So that major scale going up and down on the guitar sounds like this, and it's all just on one string. And then going back down. And those are going to be our root notes for all the triads that we're going to play. Now the way that we're going to get these triads is by taking every other note in the scale. I did a couple videos on triads and triad inversions, so I'll make sure to put those in the description. So what we're doing right now, just to go over it real quick, is we're taking every other note. So we're starting on the C note, and we got our whole, half, whole, half pattern. So we're going to go start on the first note, skip the next note, go to the next one. Okay? So there's our first two notes, and then from that note, the third, that's the first note, second note, third note. We're going to skip the fourth note, go straight to the fifth. So we got the first, the third, and the fifth. If you played them on one string, it'd be like that. Going across, it'd be like this. Okay? So, and that's what we're going to do on every single note of the major scale going up. On the root, the first, the second, the root, the second, the third, the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and back to the root, okay? So, starting at the first chord, we got our first triad. By taking every other note, we're going to go to the next note in the scale. So it's a C major triad. We're going to go to the next note of the scale. So we're going to take every other note, the second, skip the third, go to the fourth, skip the fifth, go to the sixth. And we get minor triad. Alright, so the first two chords we have now are, okay, and then if we do that on the next chord, take every other note, we get another minor triad. So far we got major on the first, minor on the second, minor on the third. Now we're going to go to the 4 chord. So we take the fourth note, skip the fifth, sixth, skip the seventh, back to the root, and we play all those notes. And we got the 4 chord. So alright, go to the next note, we got the fifth. If we take every other note starting from the fifth, we get a major chord. So now we have second, third, fourth, fifth. Now we're on the next note, we're on the sixth. And if we take every other note from the sixth, we're going to get a minor triad. And then, so this one is weird. I haven't made a video on these triads before, but it's a diminished triad. So so if you take every other note, start from the seventh, skip the root, go to the second, skip the fourth, or skip the third, go to the fourth. You get these notes. Alright, and that's a diminished triad. So we got, so starting from so we're almost at the top now. So we got root, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, the 6th, 7, the diminished. And now we're back at the first note, the top of the scale, the root, 1 chord. So all up and down here now we have, see that there. Going back down. 3 chord, 2 chord, 1 chord. So now now we got a triad starting on every single note of the scale going up and down. And that's the way that you should practice it. I'd also say it's important to notice the chords that come from, the type of chord that comes from each note of the scale. So when we say the one chord, we know that starting from the root of the major scale, that's a major chord. That's a pretty obvious one. But what if we went to the third? We got to know that the three chord, as they call it sometimes, they give it the name of the note of the scale. So the one chord, two chord, three chord. The three chord is minor. We know the four chord's major. So here, I'll go through and name them all. So we got major, minor, minor, major. This one's major too. The fifth is kind of an important one just to remember for the future, but for right now it's just going to be major. So a lot of times on the fifth they'll play, even if they're playing all normal triads, they'll do what's called a seventh chord. So it's they'll play a dominant seven on the fifth. So there we go. That's how they do it on piano. That's how you do it on guitar. But for right now, the fifth. So we know the fifth is major for right now, but it could be a dominant seven. That's sort of a thing for the future. But so far we got major, minor, minor, major, major on the fifth, minor on the sixth. The one weird triad that's not like any of the other, all the rest of these are either major or minor, but this one's just diminished. So the seventh chord is a diminished chord, diminished triad anyway. Okay, and then we're back to the root. So just like you gotta know whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, you gotta know major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, back to the root major. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. So when we learn this chord, we play all the way through. We know the formula for the major scale. We know which chord. We know the quality of whether the triad coming from each degree of the scale is major or minor or diminished in that one case. And so those are the important things to remember about the major scale when you're working with it. Okay, so now that you know all that crap about the major scale, let's mess around with this a little bit and see if we can't learn it a little better. So one of the things that you can do, and you can practice this using any scale of chords, there's more than just the triads on the major scale. But for this right now, you can skip every other note. Just like you skip every other note to get the notes of the triad, you can skip each chord and then go back to the one that you skipped. So what I mean by that is the one chord, skip the two chord, go to the three chord, then go back to the two, then skip the three, go to the four, then go back to the three, and you just go up that way. So it would sound like, oops, sorry. 6, 5, 7, 6, 1, 7, 2. Same thing as down here. And a 1. Same thing as down here. And you do it backwards too. So we do. Had to go on a different string set to get that one there. That's the same as up here. B diminished triad, that is. Then back to the one chord. Another thing you definitely want to do is practice the inversions to these. And like I said, I'm going to link the videos where I talked about inversions in the description. But so you want to so we've only been doing this in root position so far. So if we did it in some different inversions, so let's say you could do it. There's the root position. There's the first inversion, C major. So we do the same thing. And back to, and down. So there's one way, using the first inversion. So let's do the second inversion, and let's do the low ones here. We'll do the bottom string set, so those strings we're working with. There's the second inversion with the fifth on the bottom. Fifth, root, third. 3 chord, 4 chord, 5, 6. There's one there, so that's back to the root. Okay, that's another thing you can do. You can do patterns through it. You can go up 4. You can do 4 at a time. Go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go back to the note, the next note in the pattern. So we do that. Let's do that on the root. So. Ooh, this is cool. Okay. So there's one, and then so we've only been doing one inversion at a time. You can get the inversions, you can play more than one inversion on one chord, and then go to the next, and then play a couple on the next. Let me show you what I mean. So you could do, let's say, we'll do root position, first inversion, and then go back and hit the next chord, root position, first inversion, do the same thing. So we got root position, first inversion on the one chord, root position, first inversion. You could get it here, or you could get it here. You should probably practice both and do the same thing. So going up, that would be like this. It'd be. And that's. And then go back down. Alright, Rockstar, I hope that was useful. Now you got a couple ways. You know about the formula for the C major scale. You know about how to get a triad on each one of those notes. You know the quality at each chord in the scale. You know major, minor, minor, major on the 4th, major on the 5th, minor on the 6th, so forth. And you know how to practice it. You can do a couple patterns up and down. You can use the different inversions and whatnot. So that's a lot of stuff to work on. And maybe you know about these inversions, or maybe you know that there's chords on the scale, but you didn't really commit some time to it. You know, I hope this was eye-opening, and just to show you all the ways that you can learn how to really play the crap out of the C major scale. So thank you for joining me. Happy shedding, happy shredding, and we'll see you again soon.